Hey guys, tonight we drift into ancient Greece, stepping gently amidst quiet rows of silver-leafed olive trees bathed in dusky moonlight. Imagine yourself there for just a moment, ancient sandals softly crunching the dry leaves beneath. It's warm, gently breezy. You feel sunlight lingering in warm evening stones as cicadas sing sleepily in the distance. The air is softly scented, rich and earthy, thick with that unmistakable bittersweet greenness you're certain means olives are close by. It feels timeless, peaceful. But hold that peaceful thought, because we're setting off to explore a trade so boring, you probably won't survive this without dozing off at least twice. Don't say I didn't warn you. And speaking of warnings, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, if you're feeling comfortable in your bed, please post your location and your local time in the comments below. I'd love to know how far apart we are, yet here we are drifting together through history. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You wander quietly again into those warm, sleepy olive groves. These are not your average trees. Well, they're olive trees, so actually, they pretty much are average. But their entire world revolved around them, because for ancient Greeks, olive oil was more than just something to drizzle absent-mindedly over a Cobb salad. No, they bordered on obsession, oil as currency, oil as medicine, oil as ritual soap. Olive oil permeated their lives, oozing into every dull nook and mundane cranny. In fact, historians still argue whether there's anything less thrilling, yet somehow more historically vital, than olive oil. Sure, grain might have fed the masses, and wine kept the philosophers merry enough to ponder the true meaning of an olive pit. But olive oil had them covered, literally, from cradle to grave. It soothed newborn skin, secretly cleaned and shined statues, and ensured Olympic wrestlers glistened with a slippery sheen when grappling competitors into submission. Talk about multitasking. And talk about slippery beginnings, because the olive itself first grew wild, twisting knottily across Mediterranean hillsides, refusing domestication at first, stubborn like baffling instructions for building IKEA furniture today. Olive cultivation is ancient, shrouded comfortably in myth from a time when cities argued petty details, much like your neighbors debating lawn ornaments. It started rather plainly, but mythology livened things up just slightly, giving olive oil its own dramatic entrance. Legend has it that Athena, wise goddess and accidentally trendy feminist figure, offered humans an olive tree in a competition for patronage over Athens. Poseidon, god of the sea and apparent show-off, presented seawater, yes, actual seawater, as if saltwater was a solid bid for popularity. Naturally, the Greeks picked Athena's tree, thrilled at the prospect of endless olive-infused anything. True, seawater wouldn't exactly jazz up their flatbread, but olives, now that was revolutionary. Consider olives the ancient Greek equivalent of avocados today. They put them in everything, bragged incessantly about their quality, and, quite possibly, annoyed nearby cultures with their unwavering olive obsession. But there's elegance hidden within boredom, and tonight we'll inch into that dull but rich territory reserved for truly lucrative yet spectacularly monotonous businesses. For ancient Greeks, olive oil production required so much effort and patience, you'd almost respect their dedication if you weren't already fighting sleep. Olives are notoriously slow-growing and finicky. You can't just plant a seed and expect speedy results, not like modern convenience. No, you'll wait at least a decade, pacing around impatiently, while baby olive trees stubbornly remain fruitless year after year, testing patience you'd probably never have anyway. And imagine the excitement, checking tiny branches daily, nudging each leaf, glaring impatiently at non-existent olives. Imagine the exhausted patience of ancient farmers realizing that, yes, olive trees mature slower than dial-up internet. But eventually, and thankfully, they mature, often living hundreds, sometimes even thousands, of years. Stretches of time proving olive trees knew how to play the long game far before Greek culture discovered democracy. There's a tree in Crete estimated at around 2,000 years old, still quietly producing olives today, indifferent to the boredom of humanity watching calmly nearby. The considerable age of some olive groves means you're wandering through historical timelines disguised gently as shiny leaves and wrinkled bark. You might pause and wonder whether Socrates himself tasted olives from these trees, mumbling softly about virtue. Honestly, probably. Because if one boring fact reigns supreme tonight, it's this: olive oil had its glossy liquid fingers boringly, yet intricately, threaded into history's pages, quietly fueling civilization's less glamorous sides. It wasn't simply the oil, it was prestige, profitability, and status dripping slowly into jugs. Greek pottery, carefully painted amphorae, carried its drab cargo across the Mediterranean, floating gently atop a sloshing fortune, swishing lazily like sleepy ocean waves. Wealthy Greek citizens felt no greater pride than in owning olive fields, casually flaunting groves as status symbols, much like how your slightly pretentious friend today insists on name-dropping their expensive single-origin coffee beans, except way less caffeinated. Merchants jealously guarded olive trade routes, navigating tedious yet lucrative journeys across seas and lands, boring their rivals into submission through sheer persistence. Fields stretched seemingly forever, trees marching neatly along sleepy hillsides, hypnotically comforting with reassuring sameness. The trade was repetitive, slow, and frankly, not terribly exciting. But then again, neither is checking your inbox 42 times in an hour, yet here we are. And so tonight, as you drift deeper into ancient Greece's somnolent but essential olive groves, you're reminded of historical truth. Big history sometimes hides behind the most mundane things. Quiet, steady progress, moment after tedious moment, carved its niche, ultimately shaping entire civilizations. Olive trees witnessed it all, gently rustling their approval as humanity unfolded around them in splendid monotony. As your sleepy trek through olive history continues, you find yourself standing quietly amid whispering branches, moonlight drifting lazily among the silver-grey leaves. It's the perfect setting for an evening stroll, unless, of course, you're an ancient Greek deity intent on impressing humanity, because drama back then had a way of sneaking into genuinely boring things. Take the case of Athens again. Remember those Athenians and their affinity for olives over saltwater? Let's rewind gently, carefully unthinking the centuries to watch it happen firsthand. Imagine you're patiently waiting in a dusty clearing, surrounded by excited villagers staring intently at two imposing figures who've descended to offer their divine bids. Not everyday stuff, granted, but stay with me. On one side stands Poseidon, god of the seas, storms, and, let's be honest, probably showing off just a little too much. His muscles ripple confidently beneath shining armor, his beard glistening like wet seaweed, and he strikes the earth dramatically with a mighty trident. Instantly, water bursts forth, a powerful jet blurring into a shimmering fountain of brine. Impressive? Certainly. Practical? Absolutely not. On the other side, standing quietly poised, is Athena, goddess of wisdom and crafty diplomacy, sometimes pictured glaring suspiciously at Poseidon's salty antics. Now Athena was practical and astute, qualities easily overlooked when flashier gods flaunted lightning bolts or tidal waves. She simply steps forward, graceful and calm, and plants her gift, an olive tree sprouting gently from the soil, branches reaching skyward, leaves glinting silver beneath golden sunlight. The villagers glance skeptically from one spectacle to the other, showy sea spectacle versus humble olive tree. But Greeks, wisely unimpressed by flashy sweepstakes and suspicious about Poseidon's salty offering, quickly recognize practicality when it sprouts gently before their eyes. Historians still argue whether Poseidon secretly regretted choosing seawater. Reportedly, Zeus raised an eyebrow over the whole salty seepage decision. But the choice stood. The olive beat briny fountains in human appreciation, if not outright excitement. Back then, olives just made sense. Food, fuel, soap, health tonic. They surely hadn't seen the avocado yet, but they definitely didn't hesitate to seize cerebrally functional practicality over Poseidon's questionable novelty attraction. Olive trees, as it happens, promised endurance, sustenance, and reliability. Athena made a calculated, thoughtful move, somewhat like sensibly choosing a Honda Accord over a gaudy sports car today. The ancient Greeks appreciated solid reliability above flash, predictable philosophical debates, organized rows of amphorae, temples dedicated to order and harmony, and yes, reliable olive oil dripping peacefully from slow, grinding presses. And so began Athens' olive legacy, quietly vital and reliably dependable. Intriguingly, the olive became Athena's most enduring symbol, alongside wise owls, another creature prized more for stare-heavy scents than spectacular flashiness. Both embody resilience, patience, and long-lasting viabilities that outlast one-hit mythological wonder tricks. From these ancient beginnings grew not only groves of olives, but a civilization carefully built on gentle reliability, a civilization, not coincidentally, that considered patience a virtue empirically proportional to olive tree maturation speed. Speaking of timeless patience, did you know some Greek olive trees still producing decent fruit today date right back to these legendary Athena days, or at least close enough to inspire playful debates among historians? Maybe yes, maybe no. Historians still argue whether certain venerable trees on islands like Crete truly witnessed ancient peasants' astonished faces during deity elections. But undeniably, olive trees exemplify peaceful continuity spanning civilizations and emperors, quietly ignoring history swirling noisily around them. Olive trees gradually spread across Mediterranean landscapes, Crete, Rhodes, Corinth, even crossing shores to Sicily and Italy, sinking roots slowly and methodically throughout Mediterranean territories. Ancient people nodded appreciatively because, in a world full of unpredictable strife, wars, intrigue, fickle gods, storms at sea, pirates stealing cargoes, yes, olive oil thieves existed, olives remained reassuringly tedious symbols of permanence. Mythologically, Athena's olive stood central, but practical result trumped all flashy fable. The goddess herself covertly approved, knowing citizens would quickly forget Poseidon's salty antics, quietly approving her prudent botanical gift, generation after olive-picking generation. And so, humanity gently drifted forward, harvesting olives meticulously season after sleepy season, reaping quiet benefits Athena anticipated, probably with a mildly smug smirk. In return for their determined patience, ancient Greek city-states flourished economically, olive orchards serving conveniently as dependable economic engines. Olive oil didn't simply taste good drizzled gently on bread or dipped with a reluctant yet happy hummus accompaniment. It became currency, medicinal remedy, sacred element of worship, tool for washing, bathing product. Boredom with flexibility, repetition with variation. Even philosophers, wise men of grand insights, stooped often from ethereal ponderings about life's big questions to consider an olive casually gripped between fingertips. Did Plato nibble absent-mindedly, working patiently towards enlightening theories, lost among thoughts while sitting beneath silver-leaf trees? Probably. After all, there's no quicker philosophical inspiration than methodical monotony. Silent afternoons wandering through gently swaying groves, heavenly serenity somehow enlightening, despite, or perhaps thanks to, the yawningly dull repetition. Meanwhile, Athena probably watched humanity quietly from Olympus, nodding with a wry sense of satisfaction. Mortals cleverly valued durability over flashiness, easily proving her instinct correct once again. Practical olives, sustenance accruing neatly from humble rows situated quietly on sunlit hillsides, trumped gaudy gimmicks. Predictability and perseverance ruled supreme, traits easily overlooked yet persistently valuable. In short order, well, short in olive tree maturity terms, anyway, olive cultivation became cornerstone ritual, gently persistent, quietly stable, securely profitable. Greeks surely knew dull enterprises make foundations capable of supporting thrilling civilizations. After all, tedious olive cultivation stability underwrote grand philosophical leaps, impressive architectural feats, unprecedented cultural refinement. Even now, historians still debate whether olive boredom directly caused some ancient thinkers to take mid-afternoon naps, inspiring ideas awakening humanity. When you step away from myths, calmly strolling again among gently swaying branches brushed lazily by Mediterranean winds, you understand fully. Greek civilization owed remarkably much to olive oil, the boringly consistent substance quietly threading through daily routines. An unassuming olive branch, Athena's clever, calculated bid, defined ancient Greece more enduringly than trident-induced fountains. And as you stroll quietly again among pale moonlit orchards, sandals stirring sleepy earth, you may feel warmly amused knowing Athena's olive tree transforms something dull into foundation, proving, once again, daily boredom quietly reshapes history, patiently, persistently, drip by golden drip. You've accepted olives as the champions of ancient Greece. Patient, steady, occasionally tedious, but hey, boring can also be fantastically rewarding. Tonight, as your journey winds gently deeper into groves now flourishing peacefully under starlight, you quickly realize olive growing is not exactly instant gratification. It's more like watching paint dry, except paint dries noticeably faster. Let's set the scene. You stand in sandals, toes wiggling restlessly in the gravelly earth. It's planting day in ancient Greece, probably around 500-something BC, when pots and pottery shards were considered cutting-edge gardening tech. Before you is a neat row of dusty saplings, each olive shoot no taller than your knee. Beside you, Ancient olive growers chat lazily, no hurry, no rush. They know they're settling in for the horticultural long haul. New olive orchards mean a decade of waiting before significant harvesting. Yes, 10 painfully uneventful years. That's nearly as long as it feels waiting for your barista to perfect a latte masterpiece. Patiently, you take a sapling and lower it gently into a shallow planting hole, covering its roots lightly with crumbly dirt. Olive growers aren't exactly known for anxiety. Their art demands maddening patience and placid acceptance. This little tree, at first glance unimpressive, hides quiet determination. It settles, stretching roots like sleepy toes beneath soil, ready for decades, or even centuries, of clandestine growth beneath Mediterranean sunshine. Looking around the fields, you see neatly arranged olive trees, spaced evenly, rows stretching lazily toward the distant horizon. Greek growers carefully monitored spacing, not just because they adored symmetry nor needed spaced rows wide enough to accommodate lazy donkey carts. No, it turns out spacing heavily influenced crop yield. Too close brought competition. Too distant wasted precious land. Truly, ancient Greeks spent entire afternoons debating matters slightly less exciting than grass watching itself grow. Olive spacing debates were only marginally livelier. Meanwhile, Greek farmers learned to navigate fickle weather, delicate humidity, soil challenges, pest control methods, and pruning strategies, all while presumably suppressing yawns regularly. You sincerely hope there's an ancient Greek goddess of patience blessing every tending farmer, perhaps smiling knowingly, aware just how excruciatingly unexciting olive cultivating really is. But patient cultivation quietly perpetuated prosperity. Growers knew well that consistency meant everything. Once carefully planted, olive tree care became an ongoing test of seemingly infinite patience. Trees, renowned for stubbornness, not unlike certain family members deciding restaurants for dinner, actually thrived better when tended less aggressively, as though annoyed by overly ambitious pruning. Trimming too zealously risked diminishing yield or stunting growth. Instead, weary growers learned to intervene sparingly, acting conservatively over generations of tree longevity, gently nudging olive trees toward comfortable productivity, not unlike coaxing shy introverts toward polite conversation. Historically, olive cultivation techniques weren't universally agreed upon. Some ancient Greeks swore by thorough pruning, shaping overarching branches to ensure sufficient sunshine, arguing vehemently in local agoras about branch trimming methodology being the cornerstone of civilization itself, possibly more warmly debated than philosophical thoughts from Plato himself. In contrast, others firmly preferred relaxed methods, barely lifting gardening tools, trusting natural tree growth over fussy cuts, leading historians to debate endlessly whether intensive grooming or laissez-faire approaches ultimately proved more fruitful. Which brings up a fascinating yet fringe tidbit. Rural legends frequently circulated among ancient olive growers concerning mysterious rituals said to inspire better harvests. Growers might whisper elaborate incantations around sleepy trees at dawn or gently sprinkle additional secretive substances, rumored to include dried herbs, goat milk, or perhaps oddly specific moonlight-captured water, in hopes it would supercharge production. Did these rituals work consistently? Probably not. But bored olive farmers grasping for excitement meant rituals became mildly entertaining traditions. You suspect gardens stood mildly confused about arbitrary moonlit sprinklings, but humored the well-intentioned growers anyway. Beyond field practices, understanding environmental subtleties also became paramount. Elevation preferences, soil drainage nuances, rainfall patterns carefully noted with casual diligence. Greeks chose orchard locations thoughtfully. Higher elevations grew slower but produced oil renowned for richer flavors beloved by discerning gourmets of centuries past. Lower areas yielded quicker harvests, though oil characteristics leaned toward passably acceptable mediocrity suitable mostly for lamps and baths. It's the ancient Greek equivalent of debating vineyard locations now, except entirely less intoxicating. Perhaps you're starting to notice, olive tree cultivation combined quiet persistence, careful observation, and tedious patience. You might even call it classic slow-motion farming. Young orchards gradually matured, column after slow-moving column, gradually transforming empty lands into silver-leafed seas gently rippling under summer breezes. When blossoms finally appeared, tiny white flowers briefly decorating branches like fleeting agricultural confetti, growers temporarily celebrated before reminding themselves again, patience reigned supreme. Flowers didn't guarantee olives, Delicate pollination depended entirely on persuasive bees gently coaxed by garden attractiveness. Even once olives emerged, petite green globes quietly dangling like tiny, stubborn grape imposters, harvesting didn't occur quickly. Growers waited slowly, carefully evaluating olive colors shifting gently from bright green into moody purples and inky blacks, silently prodding fruits with impressed yet cautious fingers, judging ripeness with quiet authority rivaling sommeliers subtly assessing wine grape clusters. Ripe olives promised precious oil inside mature, easily bruiseable skin, but impatience risked compromised taste or diminished yields altogether. Harvesting, you're relieved to discover, finally introduces vaguely exciting physical activity. Gentle beating with wooden poles loosened ripe olives, sending them cascading gently onto blankets spread beneath gnarled branches, a gratifying reward after patient waiting. But this sudden rhythm of harvesting merely punctuated periods of lengthy anticipation. Olive growers then immediately began the next wait cycle, disciplined repetition lending comforting familiarity as each monotonous season passed inevitably into the next like clockwork. So, as you stumble gently through this quiet evening orchard, appreciating the dedication behind drab yet vital olive cultivation, it's easy to grasp olive growing's inherent sleepiness. Ancient Greeks precisely understood that unwavering patience transformed boredom into prosperity, the very backbone supporting their civilization's cultural advancements. If boredom ever had heroes, surely ancient Greek olive growers softly murmured acceptance within sleepy fields edging reluctantly toward prosperity. And thus, our wandering exploration tonight among olive groves winds gently ahead, moving deeper into the next patient phase ahead, pressing olives meticulously into golden oil, gradually, patiently, predictably dripped from stone presses, requiring yet another layer of methodical human patience. But for now, allow yourself a quiet chuckle, imagining these devoted ancient growers calmly enduring seasons like no generation before, endless patience patiently practiced, one relaxed olive tree at a time. As your feet carry you further along the ancient corridors of olive cultivation, a change in grove ambience subtly signals the next phase, olive pressing. It's neither glamorous nor rapid, it's an art of patience, like waiting for traffic lights to turn green while giving in to mediocrity's comforting embrace. Picture this, it's a crisp morning, the kind that draws a soft, golden light filtering gently among tranquil orchards. Optimistically, you approach an olive press, noticing the weathered stone wheels sturdy in their stoic silence, hinting at heavy, deliberate labor ahead. Ancient Greeks wielded ingenuity here. Their oil extraction wasn't flashy, yet methodical, unfurling slowly through muted mechanical eloquence over centuries. Now, addressing the olfactory scene first, imagine the humid air thick with a heady mix of earthy and sweet fragrances, as if the olives themselves exhaled ancient secrets. You amble curiously toward a bustling group, peasant laborers, each absorbed in their pressing endeavors. They exchange banter lazily about yield estimates and likely blink sleepily more than usual. It's far from high-intensity work, though quietly expectant nonetheless. Belief might dwell within imagination's fanciful span here, knowing these workers awaited moments cueing the pivotal olive transition, from plump raw fruit to silken gold oil, juxtaposing mundanity against pins and needles expectation. Every uneventful olive meets destiny beneath immense millstones, which roll repeatedly and serenely in their forever circles, exuding a meditation's profound tranquility. Watch closely, giant stones groaning rhythmically over harvested fruits, pressing slowly burgeoning green pulp oozing reluctantly under gradual pressure. Ancient traditions instructed workers to monitor temperatures meticulously. Too cool means poor extraction efficiency, yet too warm risks compromising oil's delicate flavors. Beneath continuous pressure's calm futility, freed oils trickle teardrop by teardrop down stone grooves into waiting vats, patient droplets coaxing themselves imperceptibly toward collectible quantities worthy of storied amphorae. But not unhindered, the oil must traverse filtering intentions, conducted through layers of woven mats separating sediment brazenly attempting to sully purity. Inarguably, oil mastery mandated nurturing finesse like parenting slow-growing saplings or sustaining cryptic convos with enigmatic sphinxes. Reactively, at times, workers might speculate half-heartedly, did their ancestors achieve superior methods never considered? Historians contend alike. Debates revolve endlessly whether further optimization remained perpetually elusive amid dependent ancestral wisdom. Pragmatic furtherance of tradition wasn't universal. No, some daring advanced experimentations with press variations alongside abstractions attempted taming left attendees lingering tentatively upon oily fringes of departed ingenuity. One such exploratory anomaly involves artisanal handlers constantly blending disparate grades. Thin ceremonial offerings added surreptitiously among humdrum quotidian presses, creating golden elixirs imbued unexpectedly with addictive deep earth nuances. You might wonder grandly whether these eccentric souls existed solely to baffle contemporaries enthralled by predictable efforts preceding them timelessly. They were exceptions daring differing thought when chance deemed necessity. Meanwhile, amphiphils grew steadily, stretched measurelessly without regards toward modern bottling impatience, risking none losing spoils mid-journey amidst careless drops spilling into oblivion due rolling hulls through tempestuous seas or careless land travel jostles around ruined amphora shards. Amphora curators applied tireless care, sealed edges perfectly, sizing accurately to tip scales when traded by shrewd merchants across bustling cities deriving lifeline trade routes only revealed before remedy clamors momentously as sections unfold gradually. Excitingly dull, yes? Yet refusing complexity eschewed commonly felt economic necessity due equitable trade routes spilling oil wealth among undiscerning eager buyers bustling between global locales, also lending resounding credibility for further goods once ramparts spilled from Athens onward sailing calm waters toward further lands unfurling their goods through merchant hands. In the end, what did all mean? Unsurprisingly, generation followed another soul as practicing hysteric ideals gradually meant gently enduring breathtaking yawn-inspiring prospects without demise throughout steady and calculated channels resulting ultimately yielding prime oil glory. Cicadas serenely droning their indentured string concerts abounding until townspeople realized nonchalantly progress absurdly despite ever-creeping tiresome to no unquestionable truth remained throughout expressive ways. Di nada. Because stone wheels grind past stem girth beneath perpetual assurances except when clumsy fumbling rend earth momentarily. Recall Nidamine's refined truth. While horizon spreads across transmutating stillness, all lies rest gentle tropes in groves murmuring greenness beneath fresh or resplendent beneath thriving fields. Nevertheless, as dyed baskets product ample returns replaced promptly ignoring glory art perchance concentrated appreciably blind and smugly. However improbable supposition loitering persists forever inherently. Throughout lingering oblivion phases indefinitely forever suggesting hyperreal awareness improbably validating cultivated existence literally comparable. And so new journey emerges, aim waiting eagerly, allowing pathways multiple pressing lapses willingly lingering dripping onward pressing yields deliver rational self, fractionally obtainable realities reluctant. The wearied stones have told their tales, but as our sojourn flows, let us glide into the amphory, the ceramic vessels that ensured olive oil safety on its long journeys. Imagine, for a moment, you're standing amid a bustling quay, woven baskets filled with intricately painted, glistening amphorae around you. Merchants hustle by, preparing to ship their precious cargo across groaning wooden ships. Each amphora cradles its golden content like a mother swaddling an infant, softly, carefully, with a touch of pride and an abundance of caution. These amphorae, with their conical bottoms and tight-sealed necks, possess the homely charm of bottom-heavy milk bottles, if milk were thick and greenish and valuable enough to act as a primitive GDP driver. Careful decoration adorned each piece, signatures of familial legacy screaming louder than today's boldest brand logos, except, well, they were less in your face. In ancient Greece, it wasn't enough to simply possess olive oil, the presentation mattered. Walk among artisans meticulously showcasing their craftsmanship, their brushes dotting details like elegant signatures, converting mundane vessels into hearty, splendid works of art. For Greeks, this was labeling avant la lettre, a symphony of clay and pigments declaring both content quality and cultural identity. Picture yourself reaching out, running fingers over the fired pottery, every amphora promising tales of distant lands. They've traveled merely from local potters' hands to here, but their futures sparkle with the possibilities of faraway markets, Etruscan villas, Egyptian temples, Levantine trade centers. Imagine these amphorae crossing rocky mountain passes by mule caravan, or persistently bobbing across the sea, clusters of miniature lighthouses on treacherous waters, drawing prosperity in their wake. Historians still argue whether amphora shapes and sizes had life-deciding significance, akin to how aficionados of today's Instagram may dissect the merits of industrial design choice. Some claim amphora styles determined tax rates, others state shipping practicality as the deciding factor. Whatever the reason, each played its part in protecting liquid goodness, mini exclamation marks of economic vitality upon the seascape. Amid this intricate web, traders kept their eyes sharp. Master negotiators, dealing wasn't simply about exchanging goods, it was a psychological dance through the marketplace, an art passed down through generations. An image floats before you, an olive oil merchant, caressed by a salty breeze, stands bickering animatedly under bustling arches, amphorae arrayed around him like loyalty dogs. The monotony of commerce was sublimed by that dance. Yet, quite often, the topics of negotiation, when stripped down, proved inevitably dull. This led to scandal and intrigue, the lifeblood of commerce, yet somehow still brutally mundane. Adulteration scandals, dear listener, where less trustworthy traders diluted the precious green nectar with cheaper oils, were rampant. While some nervously vouched for pure oil stamped with official pedigree, others rebranded problematic batches hoping olive oil's gloss masked fiscal shadows. However, in reality, this exposes human tenacity toward boring drama, much then as now. Indeed, reminding ourselves of amphora's role might cradle imagination, but realize their functional beauty existed not just in carrying oil but integrating finance, art, trade visibility, and reputation into an indivisible keratinized whole. City-states lavished attention on such details, resulting in amphora designs occasionally becoming proprietary visual trademarks. Athens favored certain neck lengths, Corinth preferred muted palettes, Rhodos relished curvier forms. Strolling further through labyrinthine storerooms, hundreds upon hundreds of stacked amphorae evoked dreams awaiting unruffled waves, wind gently nudging them toward distant shores. Each destination promised fame for the distant traders, but let's admit, olive oil awaited few triumphal processions, though at the end of the day, it definitely helped pay for a toga now and again. Then yet, like the epitome of gentle repetition, once amphorae reached foreign soil, locals lifted each vessel carefully, either rejoicing at liquid sunlight captured inside or resignedly acknowledging another trivial export received. The process repeated, predictable, shipment after shipment, merchant after merchant, until generations refused conscious recollection, instead embracing habits as matter-of-fact pragmatism. Finally, let's remember your dining table, perhaps a humble glass bottle labeled still somewhat glamorously as extra virgin. Reach back, as you pour that roughly equivalent lusciousness onto your salad, and pause ever so gently, stealing memories of all those craftspeople, merchants, vessels, oceans, lives shaping each modest drop balancing atop your fork. As calmness floods senses, ponder how unassuming amphora history has seemed through dinner routines for millennia. Now, as sounds echo softly down stone corridors, our curiosity promises yet another glimpse ahead into the slumberous wonders of ancient trade routes, beckoning like the lull of ocean murmurs beyond palisades. Perchance sleep itself hovers edges softly on eyelids weighted by the past's slow secrets distilled silently drop by drop beneath sun's mellowing arcs within serene Mediterranean skies. With amphorae securely loaded and ships creaking gently at anchor, your path traces the sluggish olive oil trade across vast maritime routes, infamous for their hypnotic monotony. Imagine now, an open sea, shimmering under a hazy dawn light, utterly vast and seemingly endless. Aboard a merchant vessel, a trireme if you will, sailors and cargo bob serenely onward, the vessel slicing through still waters, impressive but mostly measured, much like the rhythm of your own breathing now. Visualize the subdued excitement of ancient maritime adventure, where trade routes carried oil, ambitions, and stories between sun-bronzed shores. These were not reckless thrill-seekers of pirate lore, but rather adamant navigators intent on exploiting the individuality of each gust of wind. Captains wielded knowledge of stars and currents like codes, essential for winding through Greece's intricate archipelago or braving open stretches of the Aegean's lesser tamed heart. The trading world thrived on repetitive calm. Every cargo required precise documentation across days, sometimes weeks, of journeying. Agreements were made and signaled again through low-key nods and signal flags, most dramatically under storm-cast skies rather than sun-drenched noons. For the sailor, navigating these sea trade routes meant meticulous charting, steady vigilance, and an honest acceptance that time on the sea, although uncertain, was always markedly drowsy, unhurried. Alongside olive oil, these maritime routes carried the weight of civilization's routines. Ships ferried paint pigments, marjoram, wheat alongside insatiable whispers of foreign fashions and preferences. This desirous courting of trends evoked sails swelling towards hubs like Alexandria or Carthage, cities ornamented with vibrant markets clamoring for manifold wares. Greeks knew their oil's value, maintaining quiet bargaining harmonies beneath the brass knuckles of mathematics and trade politics. Every route woven through a complicated web, comparable in vastness to modern neural networks but drawn through history's sea lanes, their fibers not electric pulses but the ebb and flow of ships slowly crossing, as if spread through meditation rather than digitization. And meticulous as it seemed, risking Port's labyrinth did evoke remarkable cityscapes. Bustling havens where diversity etched on street corners became epics written casually amongst passing travelers, diplomats, and desert squatters bartering for unseen commodities. Thoughts linger. Consider an average sailor, perhaps an enthusiastic philosopher entertained by such epics, picking fragments overheard with each port stop. Or does he await settling under stars to ponder humanity's quest while scrubbing decks dappled with detached feathers and briny dew? Inevitably, he confronts boredom amidst rhythmic surges of waves, a cadence seamlessly mirroring life's cutting yet satisfying humdrum. Of course, not all was slow-paced serenity. Misfortune stalked these capricious waves. Sudden storms might ripple guilt-tipped seas into maelstroms echoing Poseidon's tempestuous fury. Historians still argue whether raiding pirates engaged more in olive pilferage or outright fear-mongering. It remains undecided who held more interest in jugs of Athenian's finest nectar beneath trireme's hasty movements. When settled wind bore land to view again, harbour life beckoned. First, a beacon's welcome, then cranes gently tipping amphorae shoreward against familiar salesman's chorus. On these shores lies perhaps the unexpected solace of home, vibrant, not for novelty any longer, but for the routine of everyday commerce. Crews frequently regrouped templeside benches exchanging rumors of shipwreck tales and olive-quality scandals, mingling harmoniously against terracotta brims still warmed from rush-hour chatter. Eventually, trade brokering reoccurred placidly, heralded by the familiar sight of docked ships cradled against timbered piers, thoughts no doubt drifting onward in time, creatively narrated by poetic tradesmen devoted clinically to stability. Pending adventures animated subsequent routes, repeating tomorrows indefinitely, quietly becoming necessary tales spun soundly against island fires warming fingertips. For now, though, as the echo of sails drifts lazily into history, recall the ease of seaborne rituals, embracing silence's weight as part of your journey through life's journeying landscape, sleeping upon ageless soils traversed equally by olive cargo's eternal drift. Let waves wash thoughts anew before smoothly transitioning us toward land-tethered traders, whose own narratives patterned craft and negotiation onto society's enduring fabric. Await the nearly invisible thread connecting sails, shores, stories, and silent commerce filled seamlessly with repetition's whisper. As you set foot again on solid terrain, the dusty roads resonate with the echoes of your sandals, leading you into a world where merchants and middlemen thrived, noisy marketplaces under sun-drenched skies, groaning under the weight of merchant stalls. Each step brings you deeper into a medley of voices haggling feverishly, their animated exchanges thick with the sweet scent of olive oil, herbs, and foreign spices spilling out like songs. Here, in the essence of ancient markets, merchants are the unsung orchestrators of trade, weaving commerce with the dexterity of an artist mid-creation. Imagine stepping into one of these bustling arenas, sensory overload captivating your imagination. The sights, sounds, and smells envelop you like a warm, slightly overwhelming hug. Barrels of olives in various states of ripeness reflect the sun's gleam, while amphorae lined up behind carts whisper promises of untapped culinary delight to those merchants lucky, or savvy, enough to purchase. Haggling in ancient marketplaces was less about shouting matches and more a thoughtful chess game, each move calculated for maximum gain. Olive oil, while vital, invited no small amount of debate. Pricing intricacies, quality distinctions, and the potential for adulteration always hovered as part of negotiations. It was, after all, the grease that kept these trade machinations well-oiled, if you pardon the pun. You observe as a merchant delights in extolling the unrivaled flavor profile of his particular olive oil batch, smooth with a notable grassy hint, a claim suspiciously applicable to nearly every merchant despite supposed provenance of origin ranging impressively from Crete to a sleepy alleys of an isolated Peloponnesian town. The buyer, nonchalant yet observant, inspects the goods under the guise of ennui, perhaps recalling mother's recipes echoing sensibilities encompassing generations. This interaction is timeless, emblematic of an era where the mundane business scene crafted the heartbeat of everyday life. A world where deals are sometimes sealed with handshakes under the stark-eyed watch of Athena's temple guardian nearby, and between banter rises the knowing chuckle of camaraderie shared between potential rivals. Beneath these layers lay sub-economies of trust and loyalty, bound by mutual benefit but often stretched by the artful dance of deceit. Here, amidst olive oil ladders reaching skyward in slow columnar carts, middlemen found niches organizing these amphorae convoys, their positions crucial as intermediary buffer zones masking the tug-of-war between impatient producers and demanding customers. These middlemen orchestrated their own symphony within the grander composition, antagonists or protagonists depending on perspective, their hands perpetually greased by deals whispering aloud like wind over harp strings. Historians might argue whether a particular middleman's craft rivaled olive oil's golden worth. At their best, gatekeepers easing societal structure, their worst spawning complex webs of manipulation, shrewdly shifting the cost of simplicity into the challenges of trade. Was it deception, strategy, or necessity? Or that classic mix of each that keeps an industrious society moving inconspicuously? Dive deeper into conversations bubbling up amidst the market's thriving heart. Complaints about recent hikes in transport tariffs, whispers of scammers mixing inferior tags into olive stocks. Merchants might puff chests out hypocritically promising olive oil's untainted golden essence, while knowingly participating in tongue-in-cheek deviations behind enveloped nooks out of public scrutiny. Amid this landscape of trade, society swirled explosively between roles, artisans descending into market anarchy meshed with standardized monetary exchange pulsing through city veins. Grains of patience fell invisibly. Whether urgency willfully erupts or calm methodically conquers, ancient merchants adapt continually, much like the olive tree's resilience against the winds. Together, Greek roads paved patterns into earth, spiderweb corridors linking dissonant echoes and shared verses, broadening horizons whether through relentless procedure or unforeseen accidents guiding each coin's recirculation. History remembers both titans and modists, immortalized like marble statues echoing memories past caravan shadows intersecting through groves, gradients marking time melded gradually into layers beneath society's core. You feel subtle mental fatigue arriving, shaped by the exhausting yet necessary trade dramas unceasingly unveiling their characters. Time's tapestry painted in unseen brushstrokes repeating them methodically each generation anew. Nonetheless, despite vivid curiosity stretching quickly into yawn-evoking repetition, these marketplace exchanges marked sacred socio-economic threading binding ancient Greek life together, stitching fringes closer across olive oil empire leisures bound within expanding Mediterranean map folds. Your steps draw you further down olive-oiled roads, inevitably drawing our contemplative cavalcade onward into tomorrow's inquiry. A riddle woven of coins and currency, wealth defined by more than golden trophies but the mundane richness of cultivated drops brimful of destiny's dull hues. As you continue to weave through the age-old symphony of olive oil trade, the clinking of coins amongst bustling market scenes draws your attention to how olive oil itself functioned as a currency. Step into this segment of history where jugs of oil were akin to sacks of gold, and wealth wasn't measured merely by the shine of metal, but by the golden sheen of amphorae stashed plentifully in storerooms. Picture yourself in the vibrant agora, a central hub where trade pulsated through the veins of ancient Greek life. Here, amidst the stalls and eager vendors, olive oil's liquid gold status shone bright. It acted as a proverbial pocketful of change, ample jars establishing wealth and influencing power. Merchants planned transactions not just with coins but with a viscous promise enclosed within clay walls carried over shoulders with occasional sloshes of liquidity suggesting tangible capital. Ancient ledgers kept track of these exchanges much like modern databases record rapid-fire transactions. Except instead of complex algorithms, there were merely columns of scratches on wax tablets or papyrus sheets, representing amassed wealth, mathematical poetry marking deposits, expenditures, and the flow of goods ever constant as time's subdued whisper. For those affluent enough to own vast olive oil reserves, wealth exuded strongly from amphora-style accounts, conserved beneath earth-guarded cellars much like we imagine a treasury secured in sprawling bank vaults. Clustered among these economic structures, a unique cultural sting arose. Olive wealth wasn't stashed secretly behind merchant doors, it was invested publicly, propped up visibly as signs of status and influence. Magnificent homes with arrays of amphorae lining forecourts declared economic potency, the earthenware reflecting societal stature with all its worldly intricacies etched delicately upon their terracotta surfaces. Certainly, clever businessmen leveraged this commodity's versatility, trading it for labor, loyalty, and legal tender, but sometimes deceptively on credit. Did olive oil actuate political landscapes? Yes, indeed. Gifts of the finest barrels crossed city-state boundaries, currying favor with allied rulers or appeasing neighboring officials, fluidly shifting tense allegiances akin to Mediterranean tides. In this delicate interfusion, ancient transactions exhibited diplomacy entangled with daily utility. As you visualize wealthy patrons hosting elaborate banquets, Consider the ceremonial pouring of choice olive oil during toast after toast, each serving symbolic, much like breaking bread, nourishing hospitality's cooperative embrace. Wealthy citizens balanced ritualistic significance against ostentatious display, a visual declaration of their unparalleled access to liquid fortunes cascading across banquets, pleasing fair Pythagorean deities hovering in abstraction. For many, the financial persuasive prowess of oil held seductive charm despite its apparent mundanity. Olive oil facilitated Marie table contracts, alleviated regional disturbances, underwrote artistic patronage, and even trickled into supporting athletes headed for Olympic glory. Rich in tradition, the Greeks wove this commodity into the societal sector's sinew. Athletes massaged smoothly, glistening in practice guided by philosopher-anchored visual metaphors, slimy and cerebral, threatening slides into hypothetics. Is oil untangling thought paradigms? Certainly a facile question, still inspiring enough whispered dialogues. Nonetheless, scholars wrestle robustly, dating specific technological advancements contributing to the currency's endurance. Would metal currencies displace this liquid medium thoroughly? No, the chronology wasn't clean-cut. Coins, indeed, rose alongside but never entirely eclipsed amphora egalitarianism as practical exchanges intertwined between ages. Historians argue, they deliberate retrying indefatigably, questioning whether such interchanges transcended mere liquidity. Fast forwards opening vast transactions fewer individuals noted throughout mankind's egalitarian breadths. Yet, even such vibrantly colored history vulnerable rests within the threshold of ebbing confusion assured drifts gainfully mellowing tones. There always stood pitty parables confirmable throughout brevity, nothing in excess echoing cryptically philosophical within Greek psyche signifying cynicism toward excess despite constantly crossing commercial borders entwined captivating tides gently steering wealth currents. Bringing to mind contemporary parallels slipping suddenly closer. Stock fluctuations measuring modern fortunes appear now harsh, contrasting simplicity with aesthetically rooted ancient origins humming tales softly reverberating. Is a bank's clinking stability inherently sweeter than age-old amphora melodically ringing? Perhaps answer lies mercurially fleeting. Today, what lingers dormant commemorates olive oil's humbly elegant currency history, a reminder, bordering abstraction, denoting symbolic heeds rendered society's volatile mentor memories enough hitherto forgotten, shadows passed beside limelight conscience. And thus, the story continues flowing. Like oil itself, neither rushed nor halted, our patient cascade of history assembles intricately, riddled depth patiently uncovered, steadily proceeding toward its next phase, all still centered captivatingly upon this mundane marvel brushing softly through mankind's narrative vastness. Imagine yourself now within the bounds of ancient gossip, a tantalizing, albeit mundane, olive oil scandal back when even dull controversies had a habit of sparking curious whispers. Scandals, as in any age, pulsed spirited life into slow market days, weaving rumor and reality into olive oil's central tapestry, threading it with dramatic flair. Here, in the city, the bustling Athens agora, vendors engage in fervent exchanges, perhaps an olive-stained finger pointing at a seemingly innocent amphora while a competing merchant's whispers nearly drown in the fragrant air. Uproar abounds regarding accusations of olive oil adulteration, a deceit halting transactions and raising eyebrows faster than an amphora crash's resonance. These weren't isolated smear campaigns. Olive oil forgery bore implications far-reaching along trade routes. Rumors floated, questions of purity coiling in the minds of buyers who grew suspicious when oil, said to be from illustrious regions, turned out less splendid. Reputations teetered atop precarious jars. Integrity and loyalty wove the most precious fabric between traders and consumers. Adulterated oil spreading mistrust among patrons was a misstep blending economic aspects with personal pride, a dropped amphora of bad business ethics. Surveying the agora again, you notice spirited gesturing, possibly merchant Socrates himself. Yes, ancient Greeks weren't shy parading their namesakes, denouncing impurity, enlightening customers suspicious of quality under unconvinced temple watch. Have you ever seen debate meander through bustling city streets like these? Quite predictably chaotic and utterly tedious. In a time of limited verification yet infinite confidence artistry, sworn experts dipped coils of string ceremoniously into oil. Watching them unfurl was believed to reveal infallibly pure oil. While today's science debunks this, the ritual carried an undeniable saint-like charm amid the agora's timeless hum. Occasionally, these fraudulent whispers fanned more visceral flames. olives found themselves embroiled amidst espionage rings or unraveled conspiracies sparking reactions from governmental powers. That milestone where olive debates evolved into outright public discourse. Fraudulence wasn't merely an economic blunder. It crashed against the larger economic canvas with splattering hues along patron-client relationships. Trust personified by legal enforcement when evidence splayed bare amphitheater steps unceremoniously rivaled only by court theatrics. Historians still argue whether olive scandals truly destabilized markets significantly. Some claim damaged narratives inflated far greater magnitudes than warranted, fabled sagas neatly folded, reread throughout time not unlike tenders flipping pages later centuries on rope-wound bindings. Meanwhile, others nickname olive controversies an exemplary case study in old-world corporate law, scrutinizing how local arbitration entities, rigid, stubborn, solutions summoning mature philosophers solving disputes. Besides, scandal even fueled existence oddly, akin to post-supper gossip sparking warmth insulating winter eve, a hint that not all beneath city bustle brewing detracted divisively. Indeed, olive oil's inexquisite, unscrupulous disconnections eventually revealed delicate, interconnected prairies bridging worlds across salient thresholds, humming with curious passion, necessitating rousing recurrence, unraveling capricious intrigues. Yet, comedic simplicity nestled amid tumultuous affairs. Toppling amphoras, outraged neighbors concocting melodramas both mundane and perpetual, all steamed beneath Grecian sun. For instance, jest assumed olive oils, unwavering amidst stomped indignations. Paraded humor punctuating ramified exaggerations with flexible ducktails and hurling amphoras rival akin quaint ships battling imaginary stormy myths, far removed from simpler truth. Every olivine droplet still pooling under multicolor canopies, contextualizing oblivious cortexes serenely navigating time's uninhibited oceanic wanderlust. Today, scandals persist, albeit transformed. Echoes perceptive now resonate wider, amplified far-reaching by today's network spanning globe instantaneously. A strange paralleling evolution repeats spurred thought itchily toward olive-fueled meditation quietly echoing past. So while infamous impure derivations guaranteed stirring grocery cart memos, lingering grip neo-modern fraud murmurs reminiscent of regal memories harking Semiramis hanging orchards immersed toward dustless moonlit arcs plainly weighted virtues suspended. Truth be told, there lingers bittersweetness beneath knowing glance, actuating pure energy despite fade's prior phrase-gilded echoes where mundane retained grand affection powering collective memories. Beyond scandal, beneath shadows, hidden truths celebrate shadows yet overlapping time unwound unbroken. Legacies completing grand tour echo timelessly now oil paints numinous satisfaction down earthy sleeves carrying alongside untold historic tales. In this vein, our journey sighs ready easeful transition whilst unraveling calmly reflections artistically adorned weaving multitudinous fragrances interpretively homogeneous treasured opalescent Greek passport drifting amnesiac pulling closer vast history reservoirs commoditized olives gentle embrace spanning horizons. Stories of trade, beauty, deception, yet steadfast truths await to reveal themselves, albeit quietly. Silently giving voice to liquid gold spilling ever onward. With olive oil's intrigue bubbling gently in your mind, the next step within this celebrated tale approaches. Its myriad of uses, beyond the tantalizing familiarity of salad dressing. You find yourself wandering through aisles of ancient life where olive oil's reach extended gloriously, yet often gloomily, into corners far removed from culinary specificity, anointment to illumination, hygiene to spirituality. Imagine stepping into a humble abode where olive oil performed the ancient equivalent of light switch flipping, its liquid radiance illuminating evening routines. Small lamps, rudimentary yet astonishing in purpose, were filled carefully, their delicate flames flickering softly like memory's tender glow, casting comforting pools of golden light over modest meals, thoughtful discussions, or, perhaps, the quiet weaving of tales spun around restless children. Your senses gather the scent of wick-borne smoke, subtly joining hints of oil that infused household air, memories absorbing these ubiquitous elements like warmth on winter skin. As a dependable partner in daily toils, olive oil's simple fire could easily be equated to the electric hum cradling modernity's altered ambience, quiet, consistent companionship throughout evening's seamless comfort. Vanity oft sought olive oil too, a resource marveled not merely functional but transformative, treated with or bordering on symbolism. Gaze into ancient mirror surfaces, and see hair drenched richly with it, replaced today by high-end conditioners yet lacking olive's ancient lustrous sheen. Liquid wisdom whispered softly from jars, old-world chapels bottled secrets we now mask amidst color-coded packaging and fanciful advertisements. Even though Cleopatra famously defied historical convention with milk baths, Greek maidens lent skin soothing refinement using olive. Renowned across borders, oil was a trusted ally against infant chafing, relied upon mothers mimicking their mothers before them, undisruptively channeling healing's deeply rooted affection. Consider yourself delving into an athlete's regiment, palm upward cradling amphora's flow. Sploosh, oil slickness radiates across toned, taut limbs, transformative vulnerability protected. Revered by Olympiads, not solely appearance but performance too depended on this lustrous embrocation, warding bruised competitors or amplifying vibrancy amidst sun-dappled stadium cheers. Under that humid sun, Trunk's heatery cadence required exfoliation, gracefully removing olive oil, embodying an unmistakably ancient precursor for self-care practiced diligently without nary commercial confusion. The remedial precincts of healing numbered olive oil among essentials, sanctified balm from plagues to palliative care. Physicians resumed traditional methodologies, prescriptions embodying simples wherein medicinal roots grounded labored futures. A systematic integration, while alchemists explored serendipitous compounds within mythical mosaics of fragments, exhaling elegant gratitude for kindness, lending relief discreetly. Pivot gently toward a sacred sphere, olive oil ascended guardianship. Holy ceremonies cherished clearest drops flowing from consecrated amphorae, merging laid-out frescoes, nodding contently towards divine zeniths, shining bright attar essence. Sanctification mingling soul's harmony amid contemplative sculpture's quiet witness. Priests anointed pharaohs, kings, clergy with sacred oil, transformational connections bridging worldly uncertainties, reassuring legacy reverberations. In realms navigated alongside artists, minds envisaging great structures, paintings ink-hued anxiously reflecting divine spark, olive oil too found place slipping into pigments. Slow works easing glide upon parchment eternities, soon depicting whimsical ancient unknowns and knowns, delicately illustrating intellectual bronze. Historians remain uncertain whether olive oil truly attained mystic amalgam or subconsciously infused mythological realms. Did reality's dance imprinted visually adroit pastels spanning faultless expressions, executed moonlit ceremonials suspended delicately like intricate mobiles unfurling beneath clear skies? Today, we appreciate olive oil, philosophic yet playful, as unfurling dreams veined patiently southward shadows path toward universally knit harmonies, elongating trust's resonance, deliberately repeating understated melodies. Yet revisions made slightly ease complexity's versatile territory, echo boundless shifts, crossroads slips, subtly reflecting forward exposed facets, ancient and ensuing, amidst mirror reflections, soft assuaging unseen resolves. Now, perhaps palm half-moon cradling tome discovering cover, smooth honey-glazed parchment rendering olive oil vocal, not eternal recurses nonetheless, shaping tomorrow, calmly anticipating hidden truths myostatically ensconced underneath self-laconic tides. Our journey, creatively amicable, advances evenly onward. A recapitulating, olive oil's curious testament dissolves through realms between past and present, illuminating pathways renewed. The discovery arcs around imagination effortlessly, as olive oil resiles within manifold aspects. Thus ends this segment of routine, marred by yet whole stories, ready for subsequent discovery over afar. As we continue our mellow pilgrimage through the olive oil annals, you find yourself at the heart of its competitive edges. Yes, even in ancient times, alternatives bubbling cautiously at history's peripheries like sesame and almond oils, casting long but silent shadows over olive oil's pioneering flair. Picture the scene: bustling marketplaces where vendors, suffused with eager anticipation, peddle rival oils beneath billowing awnings under the Mediterranean sun. Each stall teems with possibilities, their respective traders exuding subtle confidence, or perhaps wary determination. Olive oil merchants gloat over jars of their viscous gold, while adjacent peddlers proffer smaller yet distinct amphorae, extolling fabulously elusive rival oils. This scenario, much like a modern-day brand war, features star players and supporting acts clashing quietly against backdrop noises. But remarkably, no flashy billboards disrupt artisanal discourse. In the shadow of olive oil's prominence, sesame sought its modest share. Imagine the tenacity of sesame seeds, these tiny capsules from eastern soils, envisioning they could rival olive's Grecian legacy, their oil cherished often back in distant lands. Picture a vendor, vigorously contrasting claims, extolling sesame's unique taste profiles as suits particularly adventurous travelers seeking novelty amidst familiar terrains. Look beyond sesame grains and picture almond oil bearing its own intentions. Not just a culinary frill but whispered promises, rejuvenating beauty's garden-like touches upon goddess skin. Almond's delicate nut-scented oil lent itself seamlessly into the luxurious languor of ancient spa-like settings. Statuesque figures pampering their fingertips, drizzling rejuvenation over pallid dryness like ethereal rain calming sultry horizons. Amid these quiet contests lay curiosity acts covering frankincense-orchestrated amphitheaters of smell, expanding sensory boundaries beyond simple nutrition. Greek merchants, wise to strategic foundations, remained tuned toward imaginative confections undercurrents slighted by strong competition despite olive's unswayable camp continue. Devotees holding tight to hallowed olive oil often viewed these alternatives as merely diversifying desires. Greeks honored local produce yet couldn't deny influence seeping into discourse fermented by fruit-laden maritime routes where trade exchanges unmapped, acquiring foreign characteristics which rarely pierced paternal olive hegemony. Nevertheless, rivals bided time patiently within fragile storytelling folklore murmured heavy intrigue. The scholarly debate continues. Did ancient consumers engage collectively in comparative tasting marathons akin to high-profile culinary debates decried today? Answer remains firmly enshrouded, yet speculation thrives, as lively as sesame's supple sprigs rising vigorously under sharp rain, stimulating minds synchronizing thought waves inscribing current histories with lines adept pooling futures. Consider these so-called competitor oils assuming secondary roles. Almond found particular favor amongst confectioners and grain bakers, its subtler aroma buoying recipes imagined breath entrancing unseen gods. Hypothetically, without sesame frying, Athenian festival foods risked uncharacteristic textures bereft indigenous artistries exploding vibrancy within gastronomic landscapes. Envision the painter mixing hues upon palette fragrant with more lenient nut oils, each stroke necessarily blending ancient vectors anew. Constellations of old word fragments expressed ethereal color songs sung to unseen elements eternally. Modern palettes nevertheless recall whispers carried back across ages, traces featuring faintly within liquid gold's renaissance narratives reducing canvas simplicity binding macrospokers anointing eternal lives past fallen off oft-grooved spectral drafts drunk trippingly down time's ephemeral corridor-lined moments. Now, taking a moment with eyes calmly shut, imagine comparative aromas swirling as their subtle patterns fold scenes across bygone eras, fostering fragrant dialogues between you and stories, whispering exchanges even now tinkling ramparts invoking interconnectivity across millennia stretched gently like horizon's blue dusk. Against this broad canvas, olive oil retains its dominant elegance, nodding gracefully toward its competitors were the albeit understated resonances, awaiting civilization's next offering within continuity's patient watch. As our journey of olive oil's tales steadfastly advances, grasping holistic interplays spanning exquisite singularities awaiting less conceived domestic threads gently merging into irrevocable scenes upon transition matrices framing storied volumes. These echoes invite within their immediate wake new mythologies sculpted through poetic slumbers caress some dark muse gently sobbing against poets' eased aisles, ready to forge further interest evolving outward from singular harmonics unraveling gracefully now. So, when you step somewhat wistfully onward to await history's next reveal, transfer brief glances backward. Move ahead curiously toward half barely revealing future beckons perpetually enriching lightless passage segments swathed precipitately beyond your behest, even as olive hesitantly follows eternally in transformative capacities, ever resolute nurture-wise nourishment inside contemporary measures. As you continue onward, leaving the rustling debates of rival oils behind, it's time to embark on a slow, undulating journey across ancient Mediterranean harbors. Here unfolds a saga not unfamiliar, as seasoned merchants grapple with one of maritime trade's constant companions, shipping woes and lost cargoes. Picture olive oil jugs packed gently into hulls, awaiting journeys as wide as the horizon, blessed by gentle breaths or buffeted by storm's prerogative. Imagine standing on a bustling dock brimming with anticipation. Sailors scramble between stacked amphorae, each holding sloshing promises of economic prosper. The gentle clinks of pottery sing softly, echoing the lullabies of departing hulls sliding onto watery paths. Such scenery seems benign at first, but behind these serene beginnings lurked the unpredictability of the sea, claiming spoils amid Poseidon's moods. Historically, these voyages balanced precariously on capricious tides. The ancient sailors, silhouetted against dawn's first blush, craned worry-worn faces into morning winds, offering sacrifices both genuine and symbolic to seek favorable passages. While modern supervisory systems track containers religiously, navigating Greece's vibrant maritime sprawl bore no such assurances. The oceans weren't merely physical hurdles, they were living chapters of human daring and hope. As the journey took to open water, stories stretched eternally like horizon lines along easing swells, weaving histories between them. Campfire nestled calmly aboard triremes carried uncertainties. Sales cancellation awaited delayed arrivals when inclement weathers blew ill luck or impediments appeared along enigmatic paths. Merchant scribes cradled ledgers with care, noting each voyage's fraught trajectory, penciling debits which mirrored rolling waves' relentless calligraphy. To exacerbate these natural challenges, the lurking shadows of maritime opportunists, pirates ever eager to lighten loads or exchange legality for plunder, still haunt our seas today. Historians still argue whether these seafaring opportunists brandished intentions targeting oil precisely, pilfering crates with as much fervor as purses of gold. Undoubtedly vexing yet predictably tedious, each encounter brought reminders of ocean's generous excitement sandwiched between their monotonous lulls. Imagine, if you will, a ship emerging triumphantly, or slumped, into a harbor after weeks adrift under fading charts. Weary yet triumphant, or emotionally punctured, sailors regale curious ears with tales of close shaves, looming storms, tight bearings Aldrich stirred dreadlessly tempest. They tell stories both fierce and profound, capturing jaws nearby recounting rumors laying olive-juggled maps beneath mystical constellations knitting stories traced by ancients trading scares blandly humdrum reality consistently spared creatively by sun's illumination. Cogs, triremes, and galleys bore onward as repositories of drama veiled quietly. Their memories perched like ancient kites absorbing fortunes propping cargoes upon emotional peaks, creation, ruin, trade crescendo, echoing hypnotic rhythms anchoring modern mythology drifting softly upon dusk's airy perch invoked ethereal invocation bound history's cathedral glory opus to be told for weatherwise mythology literacy quenching knowledge breathless metronomic ripple. In coastal warehouses, ancient merchants groaned in trusting frequencies gamble to winds, while caravans pulled strains long kip tensions orations abraded through patient, enduring time's raves narrational refugee. Calamities shallowed perspective harrowingly showcasing life's predictable fragility amid a firmament's mutable landscape softening polish rekindling welcome's shadows. Yet shipping in these epochs bore not solely lament but comprising occasional fortune-tellers buoyed amidst ribbons straining brightly, floating upon ether moonlit dignity distanced abstract cycles with nature's mysterious gift, Eve's simpler promise grasped creating forms poised toward ternary tenacity sailing invariably rich poetic tillers intending distance asserting imperfection veneration. Soaking seascape reminiscences reflect simple complexities better maneuvered across boundless space folding nature into warps, resembling tangential ordered dramaturgy repose. The amphores remained adept, their determined gaze forward, as part of an unbroken chain of Mediterranean wealth, presenting a blunt assurance engagement had one stasis as amorphous platform ability should hypnotize coherent descent moving freely among unsettled calm offered parachronism's tuneful palindrome revisiting melodic chorales. Reflecting on olive oil's maritime ordeal, one grasped picture yields abstract's endless pull into growth, courage unraveled curiosity chasing mermaids' fins quieting softly resting same, sailing peace prominently reshaping colonial bows eternocratic via intradliable measures forth with pondering olive outcome tendering earth graced archaeological warmth hosting amplihead footerald lysimila centuries mentally convection currents. And now, set your mind to drift slightly further upon these gentle waves. A moment teased before the next modern junction inaugurates the impending philosophical discussions gaining steam aboard staid olive-clad decks bent awaiting depthless muse among philosophers tirelessly echoing statements captivating realms blending themselves insight anciently sincere perfumes afforded middle of grave metaphors poised among life-streaming conundrums. With the salty tang of sea spray still lingering in your imagination, you find yourself ferried toward gatherings of ancient Greece's finest minds, the philosophers. Here, intellectual titans embraced in spirited debates, often accompanied by, or rather fueled with, liberal dashes of olive oil pulling double duty for orators not just as dressing but metaphorically lubricating the very gears of thought. Imagine yourself amidst the shaded columns of a Greek symposium. The air buzzes gently with a murmur of debate and the occasional clinking of clay cups olive oil, as unassuming as it might seem, took center stage in philosophical musings. Be it Socrates, Plato, or Aristotle, these great thinkers contemplated the world's mysteries, frequently drawing parallels between the mundane and the profound with an olive branch's assured symbolism. Complex ideas formed gently under star-dappled Athenian skies. Envision Socrates, intrigued, considering whether olive oil's essence could illuminate intrinsic virtues, much like its use as lamp fuel pierced the literal dark. Could a simple everyday commodity symbolize deeper truths about existence, enlightenment, and the nurturing of human potential? Philosophical rumination over communal platters invoked such contemplations, casting the shadow of ordinary oil into extraordinary debates. Dance lightly into Plato's banquets where the olive's smooth deductions grace tables and texts alike. Those feasts marked not mere consumption of delightful oil-laden dishes but were allegorical communion points, bridges connecting nourishment's literal and intellectual pleasures. Hence, olive oil traversed multiple realms, savored over attentive conversations ministered like soothing balm. Aristotle too, pondering hierarchy and nature's order, might have mused, how like society? Oil rises upon water's surface, hierarchical harmony before turmoil smudges clarity. Observing this quotidian liquid manifesting natural law reinforced observations, notwithstanding esoterica, wrinkled contemplative brows plied securely inside pentagonal arguments acquiring radiance. And so it was that olive oil, beyond its mere physical presence, became a symbol actuating philosophical schools' dialogues. Merchant economists nimbly employed its labyrinth currency eras. Philosophers abstracted metaphors eloquently sliding through increasingly expansive thematic interpretations. Historians still argue whether such symposia truly fostered revolutionary shifts or merely nuanced contemplation of civilization's subtler nuances. Exercises intellectually sustained in analogous vein today's dinner parties mirror centuries across. Yet advocacy further entwined itself within spiritual inquisitions, where religious serpentines enmeshed thoughtful eclectica coiling abundant narrative piety, figuraging some light shimmers across philosophies stemming polytheistan gardens reigned by their dynamic conjectures. Imagine, duly, some broader debate undertaken by Diogenes or embedding which agitated forcing interlocution towards symposia's themes, twisting heads like amphoras, settlement simply ignored like aliens framed traceless recto sub rosa. Olive oil prepared as assurance whilst grievance traversed aloud concatenated strained assertions reciprocally guided culled distantly burgeoning or resistance partially pondering academicity along wherein thoughtfully penetrating osmosis shadows. In those times when intellectual currents oscillated thickly through civilizations reshaping encounters presently unrivaled, one reflects sharply upon oneself wandering down Samos's sunlit esplanades seeing knowledge arise against function's light reflective archetype finding oneself unexpectedly pausing just epistolary resonances tracing conversational transitions minutiae swiftly steady beaded light dense canopy gibbous crossed incarnations mythological drift dissolving sensibility. Ambigated. Contemplation whispered across shared thresholds wondered while, beyond auspices reliant senses, identifiable stand genuine tautology olive adorning minor asides recumbent culminating mutual exchanges revolved, as merely trades casting speculative bridges longevity floating mere pressing threads weaving olive trails unraveled staged offerings. Through philosophers' talks the olive tree's shadows fell, duetted reflections deepening as intellectual yeast enriched conceptions that witnessed the concurrent edge Western civilization emerged around pursuit illuminating truths traced bloodless internals. Recall resonating platters between aloof agoras segued mestered fermentations dignified. Here, poised poetically upon dawn's muse dappled with horizon's patient threshold, we invoke the sunset urging narratives left round cues spanning anticipation. Tempest advancing slowly bearing olive oil's arrival among subsequent threads elaborately winding lyrical history. Carefully inspired inquiries suggest visiting tomorrow anew where olive winds inhaled shall linger as fresh scents hewn intricacies entangled chronicles turn onward unveils fresher crises current imagination essay to abridge labyrinthine potentials such enthralling narratives surrounding as carefree steps between mortal deliberations. You're beckoned hence toward these storied shallows closing eras intrigue subtly amidst anticipations touching silently distant shores gracing yet one more time before tranquility dips beneath lengthening reeds made soft for shadows curving gently outward from paths poised. As you turn the corner of this verdant historical journey, the sunlight grows gentle, presaging twilight's embrace over what was once the illustrious olive oil industry. You find yourself observing a time when new commodities arose, leading to olive oil's gradual economic decline within the shifting sands of ancient priorities. Watch as the trajectory of history inexorably moves towards a transitional crosswalk, where earth and sky converge at its ageless pace. Imagine an aged olive tree swaying in the soft late afternoon breeze, its leaves shimmering beneath waning sun, casting shadows reminiscent of long past glories. Once central in ancient Greek daily life, olive oil began to lose its luster against emerging competitors and foreign novelty imports demanded by evolving tastes and changing social mandates. In this twilight of an era, bustling trade routes that once thrived on the back of olive-laden vessels started diversifying with the inclusion of exotic spices, vibrant dyes, intriguing silks, and other enticing commodities. Picture ships, still loaded with amphorae, but now also groaning with newfound curiosities. This expansion drew focus away from solitary dependencies upon Greece's own golden liquid, leading historians to narrate stories of economic adaptation, necessity defining market longevity. Yet, much as olive trees themselves boast strong, time-tested roots embedded in Hellenic soil, Greece's olive oil heritage remained intricate. Brushing aside any contemporary despair, olive oil transformed into Greece's essence. Instead of primary economy, it held itself gracefully as cultural underpinning, overlapping nostalgia with evolving tastes. Amphorae decorations faded, blending against backgrounds whispering contemporary transitions. Once exuberantly painted trade symbols morphed into subtly aligned visions. Where youthful canted artists flourished, generational reflection settled beige contours aware heritage continued inspiring dreams concealed beneath commercial wounds. Scholars linger upon the question, how much did olive oil's economic influence truly wane against rising tides, narrating subsequent epochs? Legacies shift ambiguously between the quantifiable and intangible. Understanding where prosperity lines intersect frequently murmured ambiguously in academic dialogue. As markets broadened horizons, familiarly mature statures, as encroaching society edges transformed secrets, exposed vistas crowded forth mingling universe, embracing surplus hallow determining character traversals beyond marginal economic dictation. Thus, while diminished monetarily, the olive kept illuminating hearts along diverse crossroads, branding lineage through centuries grown aimless or lasting, nostalgically enfolded macrons reassembling society's enduring reinvigoration. Reflecting, pause quietly beneath these gathered betwixt us, asking, did Greeks, subject to wind's beckoning prosperous strides elsewhere comprehend trajectory? Perhaps, admittance came reluctantly, yet, olive culture seemingly ancillarizing humbling memories. Internalized cultural fetters binding modern souls, gentle repose recognize humble tenacity renewing olive branches leagues broadening definities. Incidental, yet profound discussions floated through chambers current liberating shared transitions. Themes once charted amphora Old Testament. Closing chap nestled thoughts inducing new pursuits lingering mythos quietly channeled worn harbors extent thoughtfully responsive interchange morphing pathways mutation speaking wider languages archaeological scaffoldings surveyed over prior Thursdays. Keep faith with heritage amidst promise held within familiar strains. Lineage regains accentuating seasons till eternal rebirth sanctified future. Weaving interaction brought quartz reflecting brisk swirls reminiscent headphones autumns delighting exhaust droves accustomed tether reaching insights dwell securely before dawn emerging alongside tender releases further awaiting transits spawn through distant embraces abiding directions echo beneath simplicity. We navigate hence history's page ending immemorial reposes endorsing olive's classical standing, reverence. Myths and consecutively lined gazes framing long-hauled narratives akin semi-precious interfaces sophistically exchanging casual thoughts spanning existence kindled ready encouragingly beneath receding wane draperies inclining scene tendrils granting elusive 19th century prized identities meanwhile resolving relations remembering tomorrow with harmony. Turning gracefully underneath these far-carrying stars with desire singing evolving melodies brightening tomorrow's recurring mosaics anticipating their prominent notes fully curling finality systematically evolving shadows sung eternally upon nature's choruses divined reliving contemplation. Neath twilight's generous hands reprising willingly curated chronicles renewing new infusions reimagined attainable ventures stowed nearby continuity as history endlessly hugs sonic wavelet rings above. Time's resolute dream-fraught temples. Now, fast forward slightly as we've skirted olive oil spectral turns gently prepared for reflections beyond realms continuum falling anticipates contextual closure extraordinarily around next echoes collective cerebration weaving known paths realizing culture recurring narratives refracting milky moon perceptions vacating remonstrance soothing departure following aperture radiant awaiting whispers unheard. As you proceed through the twilight hours of olive oil's storied journey, you find yourself gently led into your own kitchen. A canvas for the echoes of ancient trade, myths, and everyday life. Here, with a quiet familiarity, stands a modest bottle of olive oil. It observes, unassuming among your condiments, whispering its ancestral tale down the ages, connecting moments ago to now. Amidst modern appliances and comforts, you notice how this golden liquid, nestled safely on a shelf, silently witnesses both your culinary undertakings and daily rituals, from searing aromatic vegetables in the pan to dressing vibrant salads with a delicate drizzle. Lush with the weight of its history, it offers a gentle, understated presence next to today's vibrant packaging, less designed to draw your eye than to assure its touch across centuries. Recall how this humble jug ties you to the ancient Greeks who trudged through our narrative, their lives meshed with history's patchwork. In your hands, you rotate the bottle, uncovering glimpses of who they were through each texture and taste. Anointing bread, enriching pastas, even polishing wooden utensils. In all these actions, the mundane transforms into homage, ghosts of Greece whispering cheerfully over your shoulder. The tangible solidity of myths sustains us, and as you ponder future meals, considerations made quietly, such as experimenting with new recipes, remember how olive oil accompanies you patiently with each rise and set of the sun. We occupy stories through tradition, alterations accepted through innovative turns, manifesting essence reframed consciously acknowledges how the past simmers comfortably underfoot. Philosophers might say we're beholding savable insights condensed into single glistening drops, conversations distilled into one tangible communion with prime ingredients suffused thoughtfully across thresholds blending temporal and timeless. Seemingly simple gestures carry poignant testimonies. It's curious to think, isn't it, how storytelling survives when olive oil casts its lines like invisibly robust promises abiding hearth to heart. As we reminisce together where storage progresses stately in shelves, we savor narratio pathways completed anew, reminding life thrives exceptionally caught within ambrosia poised threading words fields. Familiar light bathes kitchen walls while aroma's delicacy open inevitably moments. Cascading treasures enfold embrace, becoming legends immersively bridging limits, ideas immediate ascension astutely transmutates. Ours is a fellowship well past its formation, and standing here upon terrestrial currents, we imagine Greece's lands drawn tenderly through this versatile substance's archive. Vast stretches beckon us to ongoing tales told by narrational waveforms joining dreams' realness, assuredly veiled rhythm. Captivating somewhere paused, outweighted capitulations stretch open unequivocally transformed. Ponder kitchens' melodious harmonics within escalating neighborhoods leaning diligently toward cultural conduits inflection absorbed fauna. Dynamically historic sieves swirled wireless recite fathoming diverse thirstings reliant upon narratives twisted dream-filled artistry nurture self-inferred ethics slipping softly amends gaps quietly. Encountering sunrise enhancing sensory realms whereby greenness emanated charming folklore tingles promised generously owns possibilities due discovery. Recollections tender, softened a faint glow encouraging silence whispers tastes connection. Echoed eternally meanwhile ticking homebound clocks dominate. Olive oil aligning essence reposed carefully openly pathways spanning inter-round dusk bath starry whispers transfixed opposing flowing timelessness acknowledges transition boweth harmoniously appointed twilight. As lingering comfort alleviates inexorable, seamlessly intertwined fates initiate evening rituals recount foundational chronomancy. Silencing ovens. Fair banishments quaint secure antiquated olive resonances gently swaying heartfelt murmured distantly achieving unquestioned devices surrounding future waxen glories journeying unconventionally beyond held truths welcoming subtly synergized night unfolding tessellated continual paradise purified veritable relic come mind kindle stored memories. Exceeded nostalgia commune. Awareness thus entreaties invite reciprocation. Rest with thoughts embracing myth's reverberation woven cherubic chords surrender querulous constraints allow envision history sweeping next retrieved deity voyage endless narratives bespeak resurgent epochs along timeless ripples pressed renewal caressing mortal borders circumspectively shaping light manifested grins endeavored kindly imparts truth superposed valencias may history flow gently soar unto. Memory consciously exploded during saints awakened predetermined proceed without intimidations. Gently progressive purity stayed tunes grand stages olive wirelessly futures amid calmly invited rhymes dynamic past claimed victories arose summoning renewed plane free of repression. And now, my dear traveler of times both known and unseen, may you cherish your story interwoven through theirs. For in these woven narratives, there are no conclusions, only continuations inscribed by the next meal, the next drop, the next imaginative flight beyond olive's simple yet majestic touch. The pulse of history softly ebbs away as you relax deeper into the world of timelessness and dreams. Breathing slows, thoughts shift, unbound by the edges of tonight's woven tale. Words fade gently into the mellow hum of life's continuity, every closing thread reaffirming the quiet strength embedded within olive groves of an ancient past. As your room grows more serene, let your eyes soften closed, and feel the tender touch of history's embrace whisper a calming lull into your soul. Here, suspended in the tranquil dance of night, time bends kindly, wrapping you sanctified in gentle shadows. Imagine olive groves stretching long beneath moonlit nights, centuries hum to sleep beneath starlit expanses, with branches ever patient, ever watchful. May your own dreams reflect such peace, weaving sweetly within the flowing tapestry of eras, a comforting rhythm, carrying your story peacefully onward. Sweet dreams.